Hi everybody, I'm back. It's been about a week since I've done anything to the boat, and while I was gone, I took it to the welder, who welded up my bow. Behind the bumper here, there was a vertical crack on this beam. He welded that up, cleaned that up for me, and then welded up this after I painted it to a little bit better shape. I'm going to do some cleanup and stuff on it when it's time to paint, and won't hardly notice anything. I got a couple hours this morning, so I decided to see if I can't pull the transom out. It's really not that bad. A lot of people make a big deal about redoing the transoms. It's a process, but it's really not terrible. It's nothing special. So on this boat, the transom's bolted in, so it should be on most. This is where the D-rings are for the tie-downs for the trailer, the drain plugs, which you have to... I don't know if I can picture it or not. It's a tube with a flange on it, and you got to pound the flange in, and then I take a socket that's the 1-inch diameter this hole is, and then pound it out. And then this one has a series of screws all across the bottom, and then the transom knee that's on the inside. That's where those 4 screws are. This transom's actually pretty solid on this boat, but my thought is I'm down this far, I might as well replace it while I'm here, because it may last 4 years, it may last 12. It's pretty dry. A little trick for these transoms. So this one's actually going pretty easy. Everybody makes a big deal about doing this because they're such a pain to get out when the wood is like rotten. That's why now's a good time to do it because it's still solid. I unbolted the entire thing. I drilled out all the rivets that I could because there's a periodic rivet here and there or whatever, and that's from the inside framework and stuff of the boat being mounted to the transom. And then I take a big lag bolt, run it down. I mean, this lag bolt's 6 inches or so long, down into the transom, and then I can use these as a handle to help pull it out. I don't own a tripod for this device, so I don't know how well it'll work. But other than that, I strap the boat back to the trailer so that I'm pulling against the weight of the boat and the trailer, and I can actually lift this thing out of here. This is actually a pretty easy process. I've already tested it, it's shifted, and it'll take me a few minutes to get it out, and then I'll be done. And I can use it as a template for the new one. Other ways I've done it is my 18-foot had a similar design in the transom, and it was swollen with water. It was so old it soaked up water like a sponge and actually swelled in this opening, so it was insanely hard to get out. And I had to go through, it took me several days, and carve it out a little section at a time. So I'd take a big long drill bit, drill it down, and then break it out into pieces and like scrape it out with a long crowbar. Hopefully you don't have to do that. Get to it before then. That's why now's a good time. Hey, it's dry, it's still solid, it's easier to get out, replace it. And once it's out, I'll do all the measuring and get the new transom built. This is 1.5 inches thick. It looks like marine grade plywood. So I'll take 3/4 inch ply, laminate it into 2 layers, and then make this out of it. So I'm going to get working on that, get it pulled, and maybe I'll be back when that's out. Well, that was easy. Took 30 seconds to pull this out. And now you can see what I'm talking about here. Like I said, this transom's still solid, and it'll probably last a good many years still to come. It may have been replaced at some point in time already. I mean, the boat is an 83. I can't tell, but it looks like there's some gray. It's like a paint or some type of coating. This was not marine grade plywood. It looked like just normal plywood. Marine grade wouldn't have these terrible knots that are actually in it. That's from some type of cheap, probably exterior grade. So I would use that to template the new transom when I get it laminated together. So I'm going to cut this in cut my new pieces in kind of a rough shape, a little bit bigger than what this is. I'll laminate them together, lay this over the top, and I will cut this transom out over it. And I will actually use this transom to template the holes. When I did the 18-foot, I didn't drill the holes like for all the mountings and things. and I waited till I got it in the boat and in place, and then I drilled it. And the issue I had with that is getting the holes in the aluminum to line up. So let's look at it on this one. So on this boat, it has this track that the transom sits on. It has a hole on this side and a hole that lines up on this side. It goes all the way through. If you put the board in and then try to drill through, grab a drill here with a bit, it's really hard to line up these two holes exactly. Almost impossible. So I'll drill them off the old transom and then put it in, and then it's just kind of finagling and lining them up. So I can also tell it's an exterior grade, a little bit of oxidation on the aluminum. So I'll clean that off, so that's not going to be an issue. But it actually looks really good. So this transom is pretty simple. The outer hull of the boat, the tray it sits on, and then it's held on as these corner brackets that bolted into the side, on each side, and then the knee brace. And all that actually looks really, really good. So it's just clean up, mold, and make the new one. So I'll be done for the day because I got to go get wood, and I still work for a living, so I got to deal with that. And I'll be back sometime. Okay, we're back in the, we're doing the transom rebuild now. Got me a sheet of 3/4 ply. I would typically use marine grade plywood, except with everything going on, a lot of stores are out, which seems to be my case. And I wasn't willing to drive an hour to go get a sheet. So this is exterior grade ACX. It is not treated. There's no treatings on it, and what they mean by exterior grade when it comes to plywood is the glue is waterproof. There's nothing extra special or anything about it. So it'll get the job done, it'll do fine. It's probably what the other transom's built out of. The difference between marine grade and the ACX is ACX can have defects in it. So one side is an A grade side, which is the bottom, and the top side is a C grade side, which has some defects and things. When I laminate it together, it's not going to matter. You're not going to see them. Also, this transom sits above the water line on my specific boat, so there's almost no chance of it getting saturated or soaked in water unless the boat sinks. So what I'm doing here is, this is 3/4 inch, my transom's 1.5 inches, so I need 2 layers of this. I've traced the outline of the transom on here. I'm going to rough cut this plywood to fit. And I don't know if anybody watched the pontoon videos when I was doing the decking. I was talking about a thing called a door board, and that's what this is. It's a piece of straight, I think this is a 1x2 on 1/8 inch thick piece of plywood. And the distance from the fence here to the edge is the same as it is for the fence on my saw to the curve of the blade. There's a ton of videos online on how to make these things. I'm going to refer you to those because I'm not going to teach you how to do it. But I can clamp this board directly on my line. So measure at 62 on both sides, and I'll clamp this board in straight. So it'll sit just like that. And then when I cut it, I'll have a perfectly straight line at 62. I'm going to have to come the other direction also. I'll probably measure 1 inch over, that way it gives me a little play. And I'll clamp it going this way, and I'll cut the 2 pieces in half, glue them and laminate them together. So let me get this stuff cut up, and then I'll come back. Okay, so the transom boards are rough cut. They are at least 1 inch over what they need to be. Hi, buddy. Sorry, he's wants attention. They're glued together, and I stacked a bunch of weight on it to help flatten it out. Do this on a solid surface, so I'm doing it on the concrete garage floor. It is flat, it's not level, which doesn't matter. But, sorry, I'm out of breath from carrying the weights all upstairs. It'll help flatten the transom out if you do it on a flat surface. If I try to do this on sawhorses, it can get a bow in it, and I don't want that. Another trick is take the opposing sides and have them glue towards each other. So the A grade side is out on top and bottom, and the C grade is the one in the middle being glued up. The reason you do that is the plywood has a slight bow in it. It's almost impossible to get true flat plywood. It's commercially made at high volume, so they really don't care much about quality. And if you do this, when you glue it all together, it should be flat. Because this one actually had a cup where it humped in the middle, and then again across the bottom it humped. So when I stacked the weight on it, it pushes it together and squeezes the glue out. What kind of glue to use? Titebond 3 is what I'm using. It'll work fine. It won't delaminate because this type of transom actually gets pinched inside the boat, since it's got the aluminum on the outside and the knee braces and all the brackets and the bolts for the engine and stuff on the inside, so it'll actually be squeezed together the rest of its life. You can use contractor adhesives, PL premiums, whatever else you want to use. As long as it's waterproof, you'll be fine. So this is going to sit like this overnight, and then tomorrow, after it's totally cured, I'll cut the transom out. And we'll go from there. So hopefully I can get the transom cut and reinstalled tomorrow, because I would really like to flip the boat since I'm off the next few days. Flip it over, get the bottom cleaned and prepped and sealed, and then hopefully get her painted by the end of the week. That'd be nice. We'll see. So I'll be back tomorrow when it's time to cut this out. Okay, I forgot to videotape what this thing looked like after it was drilled up and cut out. But essentially what I did was, there's the old transom. I took it, laid it over the top of the wood, traced it out, cut it out. Exact replica. I also clamped it together and pre-drilled most of the holes. You can see they line up pretty good. I'm going to have to use a drill bit and kind of clean them out when it's actually time to bolt it all, or like bolt the motor back on. One thing I didn't do is I didn't drill the drain holes, because those have the splash well that comes here to kind of contain water, and I actually got to get those, the plugs that go in those, and put them in place. But it's coming along nice. I went ahead and sanded most of the transom above where the bolts were. Had the bolts out, I might as well sand around it, make it easier on me, clean the bolts up, put them back in. Now I'm going to put the cap on the transom. That top plate goes across here, and then I'm going to clean it out and hopefully flip it over. So we'll see how that turns out. I'm by myself trying to flip a 16-foot boat. It's going to get very interesting very quickly. Hopefully when I come back it'll be upside down and not crumpled into pieces.